Welcome to the show. A few months ago, Antietam Cable made significant investments in the City of Hagerstown in order to establish Maryland's first privately funded Gigabit city. The outcome of these investments have made internet connection speeds up to 1 gigabit available to nearly 6,000 addresses within the city. Here to talk with us a little bit about how the city is able to integrate the service, we're pleased to welcome Scott Nicewarner, Director of Technology and Support Services for the City of Hagerstown. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
The show.
Great to be here. Thanks.
So we have a lot of questions. This is a very hot topic for us here in the city. I'm going to throw it to Colin first to get started.
Absolutely. Thank you. Scott, could you tell us a little bit about what exactly a gigabit city is and what that means for the city?
Well, what a gigabit city is, it puts us in a grouping of around 225 cities across the United States that have the availability of customers getting upwards of 1 gigabit of bandwidth as they connect, as a customer would connect to the internet. Normally, with standard internet service, that's between 5 and 10 megabit at best, so that's an additional 10 times the amount of bandwidth or speed that you would get with an internet connection.
And is that running through fiber or coax or a combination of the two?
Yeah, it runs through fiber. That's the great thing about it is that these connections are made with fiber, which is actually just a strand of glass or strands of glass in a cable that has no boundaries as far as how fast that connection can go.
Very good.
This whole talk about fiberglass or glass or whatever, it's so confusing to me, and I know it's great, but as a consumer and a resident in the City of Hagerstown, how do you go about getting something like this installed? I know there's the phase 1 project, and there's a kind of a territory laid out for that project, but if you live within that area, how do you get connected to it?
Well, that would be Antietam Cable was the first company that really took the risk in doing this, and I say took the risk in that there aren't, as I said, there aren't very many communities that have this service available to them, and so by contacting Antietam Cable, going to the website. We also have a link on our website, the www.hagerstownmd.org, where you can get to see if you're in that particular area, and then contacting Antietam Cable and seeing what the availability of hookup is.
Okay. And here's my next question, then
Sure.
I'll pass it to the rest of the team here. What's the next phase?
I haven't talked to Brian Lynch about that yet. What I'm hoping it is that it now expands out into a wider area of Hagerstown. Right now, the initial area, I would say, is probably 5 to 6 blocks around the square. It may be a little bit more than that, but I'd like to see that expanded. I'm not in that area yet. I'd love to be in that area at some point, so I've talked to Brian about that. But the more businesses, the more residences and multi-dwelling units that this service can hit, that just makes it all the better.
Great.
So one of the big questions on my mind is, as far as economic impact goes, how will this help the City of Hagerstown bring in new businesses? How will this help existing businesses already within the City of Hagerstown?
That's the $1 million question, Ken. And as a small business owner, and well, all of you here that work in the area, time is money, and right now there's not a lot of resources out there for small business to create their own data center to try to compete in not only a regional but in a global market. You can go on the internet right now, and I can buy a widget from Portland, Oregon, or I can buy something else from. I want our local companies to be able to compete, and that's what this allows. It also allows a cost-effective way to get high-speed internet service. You don't have a lot of investment on electronics on your end. You're not having to set up your own data center. The trend is now to go to the cloud computing. We do it every day, whether we know it or not. If you use Google Drive to store files, Apple iCloud is really the one I think a lot of people know. If you use an iPhone, you have an iCloud account. That enables a small business like Kenny, like you have, to be able to, for free, to get a ton of disk space that you're able to go out and store files. So it's those kind of things that when you're looking at gigabits or even fractions of gigabit speed, you're able to turn things around, whether it be customer resource management, point of sale opportunities, inventory management. You're able to do all of that in a fraction of the time you could before, at a fraction of the cost.
So you think that this will be able to attract businesses to come into the Hagerstown area, the IT?
And not only to attract businesses, but attract the kind of businesses we want to see in Hagerstown. Right. The high tech, the millennial jobs that where the companies like High Rock, like Da Vinci, like Icon Graphics, those kind of business, Data Chief, those kind of businesses that are innovative, that will pay good money for their services, that are high tech, which means educated jobs, which means USMH might end up with it, getting a piece of that. And it brings them into a city core where they want to spend money, they want to eat, and they want to hire people that are going to frequent and live in the downtown area. So it becomes a domino effect. I've seen it work, and I guess that's kind of why I'm so passionate about this. I've seen it work in other places. That I would venture to say, economically, we're probably in a little bit more dire straits than we are. And I've seen it revitalize those places, and I know it can, and that's why I know it can work here.
Scott, the $64,000 question is: there's 48 strands of fiber on 70. Mm-hmm. I've got a feeling that 48 strands of fiber is still not being used. Mm-hmm. Where is Antietam Cable getting this fiber capability from? It's
already existing. Their connections that they already utilize for a lot of their operations. I believe they're still using that same. The same channels that they had originally, or if they laid some, I'm sure they probably tapped into some of that fiber out there. Ron, the big thing about that fiber out on 70, a little historical perspective. A lot of that fiber is dark fiber from the old MCI days, when MCI went belly up and did all this infrastructure work and overextended themselves. A lot of it's state fiber that goes out into Western Maryland. Some of it used, a lot of it not used. So that's where a lot of those strands, you see, it seems like every time I drive out into Western Maryland, I see the median dug up and I see more cable being run, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why. But I would venture to say a lot of that is either replacement cable by some of the larger transport companies or more state fiber being run. Yeah. A little historical perspective, we've been fortunate here in Hagerstown. We've had fiber connected to our municipal buildings since I think around 2000, 2001. A lot of these cities that are just now getting started in municipal broadband, that's where they're starting. So we've already had that 10 to 15 year head start. The problem we've had is that fiber has only been available for public use. The fiber, the internet service that we use as a municipality comes through the Enoch Pratt Library, which is E-rate, which E-rate says has to be used for public only. We can't use it for private enterprise. When the University of Maryland system came downtown, the state ran Network Maryland fiber and came through right through the south end and into downtown. But there was an agreement by the state with another carrier that said you can't use this for any private enterprise, because even though they weren't competing in that market here, they didn't want that fiber to be used for anything else but public.
Let me go to another direction of interest here. Hagerstown's been the hub city forever, talking about roadways, railways, and runways. How will a gigabit city compare to the hub city? What will it do to enhance our economic development capabilities, and do you think the county and the city will ever get on line to become far more advanced in economic development?
Oh, I think so. I think that might have been one of the initial problems we had starting out, is that that this level of technology, and it's happened in a lot of places that have done this, is that it creates some intimidation factor in it being technology. I know the county's well aware of this project. We've talked with them. The city, we are definitely on board with it. Economic development has already included it in its economic development package. It's already, the Main Street organization with the city is already incorporating it into all of its materials for the downtown area. And now it's just a matter of going out and making sure people know that this is available either through the economic development channels or the channels I have through the state, the federal government, and the organizations that we as a technology unit belong to, Next Century Cities, those type of things. And I see this eventually, Ron, as being as fundamentally utility as your gas, electric, water, and broadband.
So a question that kind of dovetails onto that. Obviously, Antietam is the one that's running the infrastructure. What
Right.
has the city's role been in this entire project?
Well, the city, what we're trying to do is exactly this. We're trying to find some financing options to be able to subsidize, help subsidize some businesses and residents, multi-dwelling units especially. That would be a huge opportunity for broadband services in apartment buildings and student housing. So what we're trying to do is incorporate some incentives in with economic development packages to be able to make that more attractive to businesses and to residents as well. And that's really our main focus. Antietam Cable really stepped up and did the risk side of it.
Right.
And now what we have to do is we have to come around and we have to make sure that technology is known, that it's here, and that we get people in here.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming and educating us about this. It's a very exciting
Thank you.
opportunity for our city and for economic development as well as we've learned. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you.
You're welcome. Up next, our panel weighs in on how Russia might have influenced the presidential election. We're back in 3 minutes.